thing to know is how did they get there? Like what was their past? How did they reach? What was the journey look like? Because every one of you here have a great story to tell. It's an amazing story. Some of you may be very humble to share it, but I know many of you in the crowd, you have amazing stories, and it will be a fantastic thing to know. The next best thing to know is what are some defining moments, because everybody didn't pan out the way you planned out when you were in high school or something. Everything changed. There were some times when the trajectory of your life changed, and that will be an amazing story to see. Then the next one will be where are they going? So this will tell what was the path until now, what is the path looking like in the future. The next best thing is how are they planning to get there. So that will say something about the strategy. So if you think about, if you go with a mood of wonder with a white canvas, these are the 5 questions that you really want to know if you want to know the other person very well. Why? Because if you know where they are, you will know their current concerns. Maybe you can help them alleviate some of the concerns, breakdowns and bottlenecks that they have or anything. If you know how did they get there, you will know about their beliefs. What was, because they reached there because of some of their beliefs, and if you know what their beliefs are, you can have a better conversation. If you know what were the defining moments, you will know what influenced them. You will see some of the influences that I have had, but the only way to know is what were the defining moments. So next, if you know where they are going, you will know their dreams, hopes, aspirations, everything. So you will know where they want to get there. So you can see, can you make their journey a little bit better, right? And the last one is, you will know how are they planning to get there. They have a plan, and what is their plan? Because maybe you have some inputs on something to make their strategy better. So does it make sense so far?
Okay.
So if I'm being an Indian, if you ask me that question, I will say like this, and you will be totally confused. So I always believe that the quest for wisdom starts with being in a mood of wonder. There is no other wisdom. Everybody wants wisdom, but without being in a mood of wonder, there is never going to be a point where you say, I have some wisdom. Nobody has all the wisdom, but some wisdom. So the next one is inner peace. So people say, the ignorance is bliss, but very quickly you will know that in your job, if you say, I am blissful and I am ignorant, you may get fired. So very soon you will realize that ignorance is not bliss. So many things that I will tell about, I had no clue about. Like one thing that happens is, there is a Chinese proverb which says, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. So I was in 2007, this is what happened to me. So I was attending the TiCon, and they said the closing keynote is from a person called Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev. And I have not heard of it, and the term Sadhguru, the robe and everything. I said, I am an entrepreneur, and I don't think I have any problems that somebody in a robe clothes and some Sadhguru mystic will solve. But you know what, everybody was there in the room. So I said, like many people, even it is happening now, is many people, I said, I will stand very close to the door, so that if I want to leave, I can quickly, without disturbing other people, I just leave, right? So, and some of you, did any of you attend Sadhguru's talk on that day? So, you know what happened, right? So, once he started speaking, there was pin drop silence. For 1 hour, nobody even moved. I'm sure there were people who wanted to go to restrooms and everything, but everybody were like planted as if something happened. And I realized that what was the reason is because he is a mystic and an amazing person, probably the most important person in my life to get that peaceful mindset. At that time, I didn't know that I was not peaceful. I was always being hurried, and I was doing pulling my hair, and most of my hair got grayed out. And I was thinking that is the way you build a company. So if I am not doing all those things, then I cannot be building a company. So because everybody were running around, I thought running around was one of the prerequisites to start a company, right? So it's causation is correlation and causation problem, right? So I found that Sadhguru is part of Isha, he is the creator of the Isha Foundation that has touched 7 million people. Unfortunately, I was not one of those 7 million that got touched. That's why there was ignorance. And then what got me really fascinated was that there was a Guinness record where they planted 870,000 trees in one day with 250,000 volunteers. That I started scratching my head thinking that even if it is a for-profit company that wanted to do this, how could anybody pull this off? There is power, and when during the talk and everything I went and watched some videos, it was very, very peaceful. So I said, I have to do something so that I can get a slice of that piece that he has. I don't need all of it. If I got a small, tiny slice of it, I'll be 100 times more powerful than what I was. And one thing that he talked about in the talk that really, really touched me is, he said, how will you take care of others if you can't take care of yourself? And until that time, I was 6 years into my entrepreneurship journey, and I had never thought about taking care of myself because at that time I was younger, so I thought nothing will happen to me, right? So I was thinking something I have to do, and I got exposed to this program called inner engineering. So, and what is inner engineering itself was fascinating. It was about engineering inner transformation. Because I'm an engineer, I can only understand transformations in the external world. So this talked about engineering an inner transformation to change the perception on what? Your life, your work and the world. I said, I need to do this. And I attended the program, and after that, just being very logical, I asked my teacher, so I want to practice this every day. So if I want to get it into the practice, like how many days should I practice? And it looks like a really foolish question now. I said, I want to practice this every day. How many days should I practice? It has no logic in it. Because she said, she looked at me and said, did you say you want to practice it every day? I said, yes. And did you ask me how many days you want to practice? Then I said, yeah, that does not make any sense. Then what she said was, if you really want it to become your second nature, where you don't think that you are putting extra effort to practice it for the next 6 months without fail, until it becomes your second nature. Where you are not saying you are doing this yoga, pranayama and all those meditation and everything. You don't claim, just like you don't say, oh, today, I got up and I brushed my teeth, and I said, what? If you don't do it, then you have to say it. Today I didn't brush my teeth. But if you do it, you don't want to claim that today I brushed my teeth, I washed my face and everything. So that to become the second nature, it was 6 months. And I am so glad I did it. And it's been 2063 days since I learned the program. There's a number 2061 there because I skipped 2 days in between. Because I was sick and I could not even wake up. But I practiced it today. And but out of 2063 days, I would skip only 2 days. And that probably is the biggest reason for me to be peaceful. And I never thought that I was a peaceful person until other people started telling me, how are you so peaceful, how are you so peaceful? I said, am I peaceful? I am who I am. But the transformation has happened inside. I didn't even know it. And Sadhguru is the person that's there. So like Uncle mentioned that if possible, we will do this one short meditation. So you'll see, you'll get exposed to what that program is. And in addition to that, last 7 years, I went into a deep study of philosophy, 2 kinds of philosophy. I won't go into all the details. First one is called linguistic philosophy. It's all about your world is created by your words. Like you create the world by saying things. If it is, if you don't say it, it's not there. It does not exist for you. That's one. And the second kind of philosophy is called Stoic philosophy. The first one is from Germany. Second one is from Greece. The Stoic philosophy is a quest for tranquility. So, which is basically it's not like you don't get upset or angry. How long do you stay upset and how long do you stay angry before you coming back to your default state, which is the tranquil state? That's what I studied. It's enough if you Google linguistic philosophy and Stoic philosophy, there is enough material out there. And later if you want some pointers, please send me an email. The next one is small wins. This is the parallel path. And this is one thing I observed, that everybody talks about, I want a win-win relationship. That means both the circles are same, win-win relationship. Sometimes people will say, sometimes it's so, at the surface level it looks good. Somebody will, I'll give a very trivial example. Somebody who has 64 Twitter followers will retweet something that I said. And I said, hey Raj, why don't you retweet something for me? Because I retweeted for you. And I have, let's say, 10,000 plus followers. It will look ridiculous. But they say it's win-win because the act of retweeting is what you are doing. But the surface level it looks same, but deeper it just doesn't make sense. But what they really want is, I will win big and you win small, but I will say it's a win-win relationship, right? So that way I am politically correct, but internally I just want to give a little bit of unfair advantage, I am a human being, right? So that's how they think. But really what really works is that if you approach any partnership and say, you win big, I will win small. And the moment you take this for the rest of your life, that I will go for small wins, for the rest of your life, every partnership becomes very easy because everybody wants to partner with you. And that's one philosophy, this is one of the 12 things that I do in the art of leverage. This is one thing that has helped me. I have never had problems closing partnerships because I'm always thinking, what is a small win for me here? And the moment that I always think and act that way, people will see it and say, this is a no-brainer, I think you should take more. I said no, because I collect a bunch of small wins, I'll still win big. Next one is humility. So I had to learn it the hard way. So basically, it's a 1,000-day journey for me to learn the real humility. So it started with a dream. So when I was about, I'll share a quick story. When I was about 10, I had read about 700 books. But if you talk to my mom, she will tell you that most of them are useless books because it was like mystery, thrillers, spy novels, and all sorts of things. But I read so many books, so much that I used to play a game, thinking that what could happen, what would be the climax, how would this pan out. Most of the time, I used to get it wrong. I used to be really frustrated that I didn't get it right because how could they cheat me, kind of thing. So then I said, this is not working, so I should write my own story so that I'll never get it wrong because I am the one who is creating it, right? So I started, when I was 10, I started writing my story. It took me 8 months, 200 pages. At some point, my parents thought I was mentally ill because I didn't stop writing. When I finished writing, I thought publishing should be extremely easy because how many 10-year-old kids will write? So I will have a red carpet welcome. So when I just tell the publisher, they will say, do you have only one book or 3 books or how many? That's what I was thinking. At that age, it's not much of brain power there. So very quickly, I realized what is real. And it went on for, I won't get into all the details, it went on for 1,000 days where I started getting rejection letters faster than I was pitching them. So I said in the 1,000 days, I got 160 rejections. So before I finished my engineering degree, I had a PhD in how to get rejected. So, and I realized that writing is really the easiest thing there is. Publishing is where all the problem is. So in my own little bird brain, I said, what if they like this book, they publish it and they ask me, do you have anything else? So I had written about 4 novels by the time I was 13 and a half. And the 4th one was what got published when I was 13 and a half. But really, the journey is what taught me a practical lesson in humility. There is so much to learn, so much I didn't know, so many people. I have the story written. If anybody wants to read the gory details, I have it written. Just for my own sake, I wrote it. So the next one is productivity. Again, this is the parallel part. If I have to do multiple things, I somehow had to crack the code of productivity because everybody has only 24 hours. So there is something has to be there so that I can get a little bit more in the 24 hours that I have. And I just studied all sorts of productivity systems, getting things done, and I read about 16 or 17 books. And finally I came up with a system which I will share it with you. And this book will be released sometime next year. It's called The Impact Habit. And the basic of that book is the question that we asked, what if you truly set yourself up to make meaningful impact every single day? How will you think, act, when you want to create a lot of impact on a daily basis? So we found that the first thing that we need to do is we have to stop focusing on time and start focusing on impact because it's in the focus. Because if you think about, talk to anybody who is in the consulting business, one of the common terms that is used is, what is your hourly rate? As if they will pay for you to exist for that hour. Really, they are not paying for that hour. because they are paying for the value that you pack in the tower. So if I can focus on the value, then things will change. Really, if you think about it, you are the boss and somebody is writing a report for you, and somebody says, boss, I wrote this report in 10 minutes and it's a stellar report. So will you say, no, you should have spent at least 1.5 hours on it? You won't, because you say, how did you do it? How could you get it out in 10 minutes? Or the same person comes back and says, I'm trying to get this report out last 18 hours. I've been working on it, but I'm still halfway there. You will think, did I hire the right person? You are not thinking, oh my God, you are working 18 hours, I will pay you 18 times your salary. You are not thinking that way. So hourly rate and time, it just does not make sense. It has to be impact. And then we looked at what is the fundamental unit to create an impact. And that fundamental unit is the current context. At this context, like for me, I'm speaking with you, if I have to create an impact, I better deliver an ROII which is higher than what you would have got somewhere. ROII is return on investment for an interaction. All of you are giving all your attention, you better get some return for it. And that is the context I have. If you are sending an email, that's another context you have. In that email, you can confuse the hell out of them, or you can send an email with clarity so they can create an impact. So if you take care of every context that you live in and create micro impacts, you will create a mega impact. Like what kind of impacts are we talking about? There are 7 areas that we look at. There is an acronym that we came up with, it's called CHAR UP. So, and I will go through each one of them very quickly. C stands for charity. Like you could create some impact in the world of charity. Now when I say charity, it's not non-profits or anything, it is something that you do out of the goodness of your heart without expecting any return. And why should you do it? There is a moral side to it, saying it's a good thing to do, you are a human being, everybody has to do it. No, I look at the practical side of things. The practical side of things is, I look at the most powerful force on earth. What do you think it is? Anybody? It's called the reciprocation. That's right. The most powerful force on earth is somebody does something very good for you without you asking them. What is the first feeling that you will get is, I want to do something back to them. And it's a really powerful force. That's why you say, can I do anything back to you? Right? That's the power of reciprocation. Now, one way to use reciprocation is, I'm very good at this. Let somebody do something good to me, I'll reciprocate very quickly. That's how I am. I never leave anything for I'll always settle the balances. Let the world do something good for me, I'll do something good back to the world. But really, if you want to capitalize on the power of reciprocation, you have to go the other way around. You start doing good for the world, and then sooner than later, world will start reciprocating back to you. And the only way to build that reciprocation muscle is to do a lot of charity work. So that's one kind of impact. Second kind of impact is called the handshake. Handshake is connecting two people that are opportunity for each other. Like imagine if you know a lot of people and then two people should meet. And then how long does it take for you to connect those people? It's hardly one email. You just make 2 phone calls and say, I'm introducing these two of you, and this is why I'm introducing you, and then you make the connection. Suddenly, without spending any more of your time, you created positive possibilities in the lives of those two people. That's called a handshake. So I'll come to that in the last section, the E section. The next one is amplify. Everybody, you and everybody around you are trying to amplify something. Some of you are amplifying just the vitamin M, the money factor. Some of you are amplifying the peace of mind factor. Some of you are amplifying the time you require to spend with your family or anything. What can you do so that you can give a helping hand to amplify whatever they are amplifying? That's the third kind of impact. Fourth one is the reflection. And if I ask a question, some of you will treat it like an insulting question, but I will ask it anyway. When was the last time you thought about something? The moment I ask that question in a crowd, people say, I'm always thinking. In fact, people tell me that I think a lot. So while I was walking, I was thinking. While I was having a shower, I was thinking. When I was writing an email, I was thinking. I'm always thinking. So in fact, people say, you have to stop thinking, you think a lot. But really, when was the last time you're thinking, you thought in a strategic way where you leave all the computer and everything and sit in one place and say, let me think through this whole thing, let me reflect on it. There is very few people who do it. In fact, those of you who are working in an office, you try this exercise. You just go to the office and then sit in front of a computer, don't start the computer, and then just sit and not do anything, and then think. In less than 15 minutes, somebody will come and ask, what's your name? Your name? Ginny? So, you suppose Ginny is doing it. In less than 15 minutes, somebody will come and ask, Ginny, is everything okay? And if she says, no, this is what you will see me in the next few days, I'll be thinking. People will go to the HR and say, Ginny seems to have some problem because she says she's not doing anything, but she keeps telling that she will be doing this a lot more. It is an uncommon act to just sit and think. So what I devised is, for me, I mean, it's a problem for me, I'm not saying it's a problem for everyone, it's a problem for me too. So what I did, I created what are called 2 think lists. So just like to-do lists, I'll put it in a 2 think list. So I have thinking times that I have slotted in throughout the week, and then I'll just review what's on the 2 think list without a computer, with a piece of paper and a pen. I will work through each of the 2 think list, and just that one alone, I can get a lot done because I have a structured time for me to think about things. Somebody will ask me, Raj, will you think about it? If I am not going to think about it, I will tell them right then and there, I may not be the right person to think about it, just so that I don't feel guilty that I am not thinking about it. Otherwise, I will have to do a fast makeup. Like next time when they call me, I'll just rapidly think about something and say, yeah, I thought about it, I think it's a good idea. And this is the reason it's fake. Because if the other person is really smart, they will know that it's just making up something which is politically correct, but is totally useless. So rather than that, I will say, I don't have the time, or I don't know what to think about it. But if I'm going to think about it, I'll put it in the 2 think list. So that way, it comes in once a week, or one of the Mondays, Tuesdays, or Thursdays when I have this, it will come into my slot. The next one is called mandatory. This is something that one of my teachers taught me. So if you want to get something done, there are 2 parts to it, Raj. One is you do what you love, plus very important with a capital P is do what needs to be done. Like if in the end you don't like to file expense reports, but that is required to get the expenses back, you better do it, because that comes under the mandatory. So the next one is upgrade. Upgrade, I'll give an example. I always ask this question to some of my friends and say, did you watch any TED Talks? So people always say yes, because it's the cool thing to say. I watched some TED Talks, right? And I also, when was the last time you watched a TED Talk? I said, I watched it last Friday too, it was fascinating. He said, did you do anything about it? I said, no, that inspired me so much, I watched 10 more TED Talks. No, I'm not saying it's like a vicious cycle, right? So you have to apply it somewhere, because until that time nothing happens. Otherwise, you are entertaining in the name of education. It's called guilt-free entertainment. So if you watch soap operas, people will say, you are wasting your time, but you can always watch TED Talks in the name of education. But you are using it as entertainment, right? So for me, upgrade is doing an activity that will increase your capacity in a measurable fashion for doing something else. If you are doing, if you like to write, and then you read a book about writing, your next blog post or your next book has to reflect that you are a better writer because you read that book about writing. Otherwise, it's entertainment. Let's at least call it entertainment, so that you do something else next time. Otherwise, you'll think, I have watched 120 TED Talks. In my whole office, I'm like the #1 in TED Talk watcher. But what will you do? They're not going to give an award for it. Right? It's like nothing happens until you do something with the information. The last one is the project, because you are always doing multiple projects, and then you need to have a measurable progress in reasonable time. And if you are the best judge for it, you list all your projects and say, if you are involved in an activity that will give you measurable progress in reasonable time, so be it. If not, don't add it. So impact log will look something like this. I have it in an online tool called Tenzu, Tenzu, and then I just list handshake, upgrade, handshake, my project, name and everything. I'll write what I did. And then if it is not there, then I didn't do anything. So I won't list it. So, and it has boosted my productivity by 10x. Why? And I went through, we talked to some psychologists and everything just to find out what it is. And the core reason why this works great is because it's like the Zen mindset. Everybody says, be present. But and everybody knows this. It's like common knowledge. But how do you be present? Because somebody will buzz you, somebody will do this and everything. But in a certain context, if you know that at the end of the context, before you switch to the next context, you need to log an impact, you will be present. Because otherwise, at the end of that context, you will have nothing to write. And every one of you are smart people. Nobody wants a blank impact page at the end of the day. Because you are so smart, and then there is nothing to prove that you are so smart. Your ego will come into the picture and say, bloody, I will just make it next time, I will just really do it. So, and then you will never see it empty or half filled, because you will be forced to do it. It's gamification of the mind, right? So that's something that, the next one is resourcefulness. I just wanted to pick an example. So like, none of us can say that you have all the resources to get where you want to go. None of us. Because it's always lacking resources. But there is no dearth of resourcefulness. I use an example of cars, right? So if you think about the lots of brands, lots of stories about cars, what could we do about cars? Because it seems like there are a lot of companies, and then comes the rental car business. They say, hey, we could rent cars. Because not everybody needs to own a car. When they go to a particular city, they need it. They use the same resources, cars, but now they started renting, and for a short duration. And then enterprise said, I will rent cars in the city. So again, it's the same resource, but they said, I will have a different approach. It's a different business model. Then we said, what else can we do? We can buy cars, we can rent cars, but then comes Zipcar. We said, why do you want, I don't want to rent for the whole day, I can rent for an hour and here and there, and then Zipcar used the same resources, but they were resourceful. And what else could we do? And we said, okay, that's done. We can buy cars, we can rent cars by the hour, what else can we do? And then came GetAround and said, we don't need to have a company. There can be other people whose cars are available, and then we can rent their cars. Again, it's the same thing. Then we said, this must be it. We got to buy, rent by the hour, rent somebody's car. We said, what about a driver? We could also get drivers. So I said, if somebody is going and then they have some free time, they can also drive around, right? Again, it's the same resources. And then came sidecar. We said, why drivers and all this? Somebody is going from Sunnyvale to San Francisco, they might as well take somebody else. Why can't tap into the community? If you think about it, everything, the common factor is all they did was they changed the world view of how you look at things. So that's the power of resourcefulness. All you have to do is, we don't have to accept the status quo. We have to change the way we look at how things are operating and look at it differently. Next one is identity. Now, identity is a butchered word because now it's called personal branding, and the personal branding is butchered because now people think how many connections I have on LinkedIn, how many Twitter followers, how many Facebook friends, and it has become a totally different thing. For me, it's all about the contribution. You need to distinguish yourself, and you need to do it so that you have more power to contribute to this world. That's where the identity comes. And I have a simple model of how to build thought leadership, and it's called an ABCD model. I'm a very simple person, so everything has to be simple for me. So I simplify it for myself so it becomes easier for others. So I'll go from an audience viewpoint, what all we need. The first thing, if you want to be a thought leader, from an audience point, there has to be some awareness. That means you have to exist for them. They should know that you are there. So it starts there. If they don't know that you are there, then they can't think the ground zero is gone, right? Once you know, they have to be able to bond with you. So that's the B. So that means they have to relate to you. They have to just gel with the frequencies have to match. That what you are saying and what where they are at life has to match. And lastly, if many people can do this, they have to see a compelling story that you are different. And if you do it really, really well, you will become the default. Like when they think of creative marketing, they have to think of you if you are a creative marketing expert. That's the default. Let me see what Bob has to say about, Jack has to say about creative marketing. It has to be there. That's the ABCD. And then I'll give some examples. Just awareness. In the awareness section, you can earn awareness, which is in the search result section, or you can buy awareness by putting some ads. I'm not saying it's one is either better or it's all the timing. When you are just starting out on something, there is no, don't be hesitant to buy some awareness, because somebody you have to get the seed going. So bonding is about relevance, timing, and the quick outreach to help. So that's about bonding. So in this case, there is a tweet where they says, we're looking for temporary secretary for doing something. So immediately in less than 2 minutes, there is a staffing agency which says, how can we help? Because they're timing, right? Suddenly they were looking for it, there is a concern, and I address it. So that's about bonding. The compelling story, this is where people get confused. Compelling story is usually told about you by somebody else, not you. So if you say, do you know how cool I am? I am the best in this. Immediately people will say, you may not be really best at it. That's why you are telling, do you know how cool I am? And it cannot be your mom or your sister or your brother, because they always think you are really cool, right? That is just eliminated, because it's also discounted. Right? So, but in this case, most of you can't read. It says, what is the quickest way to develop a partner ecosystem in Europe? It's a LinkedIn question. And then the response comes from a person called Mandy. He said, Martin is a true expert on sustainability. I think you should talk to him. Now, Martin didn't say, I'm a true expert on sustainability. Somebody else said, depending on where Mandy stands in the hierarchy of how cool she is and how respected she is, then suddenly there was a compelling story created about Martin by Mandy in a public forum. So if you want compelling stories, just don't go and drive your friends to say, you need to tell a compelling story about me. It has to come from their heart, right? So next, from your viewpoint. So there is a ABCD from your viewpoint. First is you have to demonstrate something. So you have, unless somebody can read your mind and assume that you're really cool with this particular skill, you have to actually open your mouth or start your computer and type something, or you have to say something. That's the demonstration is the number one thing to start. Then not only you should demonstrate, you should also show it with the right intent. So it has to be some caring. It should not come across as fake. Because think about it. Fakeness is easily detected by smart people. But if you say, my audience, not so smart people, I can get away with it, then you are doing the wrong thing anyway. Because it will not go anywhere. So either way, if your audience is smart, they will get to know it. If the audience is not smart, you didn't get off the right start anyway. So it has to be caring. Because many people can care and show, demonstrate their skill, you have to break away from the way you care for it. If you think about great customer service, what company comes to your mind? Zappos. Why? Because they care differently. Right? Everybody says, we also do customer service, we have 6,000 people, but everybody talks about Zappos because they break away from the crowd. Like, lastly, ultimate test, litmus test is the accomplishments. There has to be social proof that there has to be enough number of people you have helped and they have to acknowledge it, and that is where the rubber meets the road. And I'll give some examples. Now, there is a Twitter handle called pricing. What do you think this person might be tweeting about? It's not rocket science, right? He will be tweeting about pricing. And then every single tweet is about an insight on pricing. That's the easiest way for him to demonstrate. He has the pricing consultancy. So obviously he is demonstrating that he knows a lot about pricing, is helpful, and it will become in the back of your mind. You will say, oh, if there is a pricing question, I think Chris may be a good person to talk to, right? Then I will go to the accomplishment. This was one of the home pages for 37 Signals. Just read the first sentence here. It says, over 3 million people use our web-based app to get things done. Now, isn't it enough social proof that if it works for 3 million people, probably it will work for me? That's how you demonstrate accomplishment. But now you have to combine the two models, so two viewpoints. The more you can demonstrate, the better you can demonstrate on your side, the better is the awareness on the audience side. It has to demonstrate well, the awareness is higher. The more you care, the better is the bonding. The more you break away from the traditional way of doing, the more compelling is the story. The more you can accomplish and provide social proof, higher chances of you being the default. That's the model. See, I told you, it's ABCD, ABCD, forward, backward. So that's the thing. Next is the choreography. Choreography is, because it's 24 hours, everybody has only 24 hours. The only way you can get more out of your life is you convince somebody else to work on your projects. And why will they work on your projects? Only if it is aligned with whatever they were already wanting to do. Otherwise, they will think, I have my own priorities. Why should I work on your priorities? Right? So the way is in your network, Bob wants to go there, Jack wants to go there, Jackie wants to go, all these things, everybody is going. And your job as a choreographer is to see how can I align all of them and make a really good framework. So the choreography is all about alignment. And the fundamental skill you need to know how to choreograph something is how to make a powerful request. So how do you make a powerful request? John is here, and he is there and he wants to go somewhere in his life. And the trajectory we talked about, where you are, where you came from, where you want to go, this. And then you make a positive request. If it takes him or her towards the goal, automatically, already going, then it's a positive request. If you make a request that will take him away from the goal, then it's a costly request. Really, a good request is not even a request. A good request gets transformed on the other side as if it's an opportunity. That does not happen just from the blue, right? You have to design it. That's why I said the reflection time is where you think and see how can I create opportunities for people that comes across as opportunity. It could be a request, but it has to come across as an opportunity. Otherwise, it will go in the grand scale of many priorities that they are getting. So it will just somewhere there, and it may not even come to the workspace. Lastly, the ecosystems. The ecosystems are what gives you additional power if you want to do more things. Like everybody has a graph in their life called what matters graph. Something that matters most to them. So some people, it's paying money, more time with family, wanting to publish a book, whatever it is, it matters most to them. In their graph, they are here today. Almost all smart people want to be a little bit higher than where they are, right? So, but they definitely don't want to be here, right? If they have $1 million, they don't want to end up in $500,000. So they want to end up in $5 million. It's a very, very simple. I'm an engineer, as you can see, right? But if you watch the movies, this is the dream zone. If you watch the movies, this is the way it works. The opening scene will be saying, I really want to build a big company. Next, you will start with a small company. In the first year, it will make $1 million. In the next scene, in about 10-15 minutes, the company will be growing. They will be adding employees and everything, and it will make $2 million. In 5 years, it will make $5 million. And the movie ends. And you say, this is really cool. He worked hard, and in 3 hours, everything happened. Right? In real life, rarely happens. Right? In most of the cases, people come into the forbidden zone. Right? So in real life it will look something like this, even if they achieve it, right? So what really matters is how you can influence their what matters graph. What can you do? Actually, you can only do 3 things. Actually, you can do 6 things. The other 3 you should not do. The first thing that you can do is you can do some delta P, which is the performance impact, which is because you are there in their life, instead of making 5 million, they will make 6 million, right? So you are an amazing ally for them. Or it can be a delta T. You can give them a time advantage. Because you are there, it would have taken them 5 years, it will take them 4 years. Again, you are amazing for them. Or you can do both delta P and delta T. Because you are there, they will make more and they will make more in less time. If you are doing one of this for anybody in your life, forget about money, it could be time, fame, whatever it is in their what matters graph. Don't you think you will be an amazing asset for them? It's a no-brainer. But you will say, it's all too complicated equations and all. I just don't do anything for anyone. I just leave them alone to whatever they are doing. I do whatever I am doing. But if you are not doing it, you may be doing one of this, which is minus delta P, because it will be a drag. You will make some costly request for them. You will just be a pain. You will just criticize them. You do whatever it takes. But because you are there, instead of making 5 million, they will make 4 million. Or it will just stretch the timeline. Instead of making 5 million in 5 years, they will take them 6 years because they have to take care of you, like babysit you for other things, right? So, or this is the worst case. Like they will make less, it will take longer to make less. So if you are doing one of this, then you are a drag on them, right? You have to do the first 3, the last 3 are not good. But again, it's too much. I just want to be good friends with people. I don't want to be delta P, delta T, Raj, you are confusing the hell out of me. So I have a simpler thing to do. I have some shortcuts, but really not shortcuts, but better ways of leveraging your existing ecosystem. Now, how I came up with this is I met one of my friends. His name is Tim Sanders. He used to be the chief strategy officer of Yahoo. When I came to United States, I was didn't know a lot of people, and I had lunch with him one day, and he said, Raj, where do I start? So he wrote a book called Love is the Killer App. And I was asking him, how did he do it? He is always very well connected. And he said, Raj, what you should do is, you should look at their whole network and connect all the key people that should know each other. That's where you should start. And I was stopped having lunch, and I said, okay, that will take me next 15 minutes because I had 7 people in my network. So what next? And he said, you have got what you have got. You have to start from there. There is no other way. You can't manufacture your network overnight or wish for a bigger network. And like a child, I asked him, how many people do really good networkers connect? It's like, how many? Is there a number? Because I want to be there, because I want to do something there. He said he may not like the answer, because I told him I had 7 people in the network. So you may not like to know the answer. I said, yeah, whatever it is, it's a bitter pill, but let me know it. What do you think is that number? Really good networkers. Any guesses? Ravi? One. Now, how many people will they connect other people in a whole year? How many people will they connect to each other? Is it 10, 15, 20, 100? Really good networkers, the average number is somewhere between 300 to 400, which means every single day of the year, they are connecting at least one person. Every single day of the year. And I said, this is not going to happen in my lifetime, because from 7 to 10 to 15, last year I connected 400 people. So, and I thought it is impossible for me, because I don't even have that many people. And Tim kept insisting that you have to start where you are. That's the only way. And then it keeps getting better. And how did I connect 400 people? Is because the more you give out, the more it comes back to you. It's like an exchange. You give more value, you keep getting back more value. So it's very soon, it's in my second nature. When I meet someone, I'm always thinking, who all should I connect this person to? Because I'm not thinking, like, I have to think like this. It becomes your second nature because that's what you do. And how do you do it? This is you, and this is your network. And this is John, and this is John's network. Again, movie style, together, it will be everybody's network. You have 10 people, John has 10 people. In the movies, you have 20 people. Because John's network is your network. You know John, but in real life, it rarely happens that way. You have 10 people, and you know John, you have 11 people in your network. That's where it is. That's the man. But you can make a difference by looking at who are all the people in your network that can make a positive impact in John's life. 3 people, let's say Bob, Rick, and Bill. Now the question is, you have to do the relevance check. How many of those people will get a positive impact because they know John? Not many people. Maybe Bill may not get anything out of it, so let's leave him aside for now. And then we do the timing check. So basically we say, is the timing right? Because everybody is busy. Like if I connect these 2 people, will they give attention to that connection? Maybe not. So Bob is gone. So whoever remains, the potential connection is Rick and John. And now what do? So you connect and disengage. It's both the parts are very important. You are not going to say, Rick meet with John, John meet with Rick, you both may start a company, just set aside 10% for me. Because I made the connection. It's not a brokering relationship. It is a gift that you are giving. It may come back and give you something, but that is not the idea. It is good karma that you are doing. So with that, I want to say, being peaceful and doing things in parallel is a journey. It's not a destination. It has to start somewhere. And what I'm thinking is, it can start with a meditation session. So basically, Ankur, what time is it? So basically, you will see one practice. I do it every single day between 30 and 40 minutes. And right now, I don't even think that it's a practice. It's become my second nature. But you will get a sneak peek of what it is. So for you to get the most out of it, I want you to divorce your cell phones for 30 minutes. So that's the only way to do it. Because you want to be peaceful, but the cell phone is there. It's very difficult to be peaceful with a smartphone. I don't know why they even call it smartphone. It will make us all dumb. So, but they just call it smartphone. I don't want to. I'm not the one who made it up. So, for the next 30 minutes, there will be some overview in a video as to what this is all about. And after that, at some point in the video, it will say, please close your eyes. At that time, please follow the instructions. Because there will be nothing on the screen, so there is nothing else to read. So please close your eyes means, please close your eyes. For you to make the most out of it, if you give 30 minutes, you will experience you will see some peacefulness right at the end of 30 minutes. Because it happened to me. I know if it happened to me, I'm sure it will happen to everyone. So, Ankur, any other instructions? Did I miss anything? Thank you very much for listening to this with patience, and we'll have some small Q&A later. But thank you.
But a powerful tool to constantly move from untruth to truth. Isha means that which is the source of creation. Kriya means an inward action towards that. Karma means outward action. If you
Chandani there, she can answer it. If you have any questions outside of Isha Kriya or meditation or anything, there are 9 things that I covered. I'm happy to take any questions.
Another question.
Yeah.
So, how long did it take to sort of develop those 12 techniques?
Yeah, it is. See, most of the time, because I'm an engineer, right? So anything I'm learning, I'm thinking I have to make it simple for myself. So, and people will ask me, can you explain to me? I'm a teacher at heart. I've been teaching for a long time. So I said, if I can't make it simple, I can't make it simple for somebody else. So some of these things, I didn't cover all the 9 things. There is a course that I teach called The Art of Leverage, which is about 12 mindsets. Because you have all been a really good crowd, I leave with one more. So that, and it's very, very easy to follow. And right tomorrow morning, you will get a lot more out of your time. Do you want to get it? Yes?
Yeah.
I mean, there has to be something more energy than this. Do you want to have that insight?
Yeah.
So finally it's there. It's called the third reason mindset. Like, think about anything that you are doing that is meaningful. Anything. So I'm sure that there are many, many things that you are doing that is meaningful. Just think for 10 seconds. What would be a second reason to do that thing? Just for 10 seconds, think about it. Did you all get at least one more reason to do it? Yes? So now let's stretch it a little bit. What would be a third reason to do exactly the same thing? Let's take another 10 seconds. How many of you got a third reason to do that thing? If you want to raise your hand, it's full like this. Okay, so most of you, let's stretch it a little bit. And those of you who got only 2 reasons, try to get the third reason, because I know you can get it. For those of you who got third reason, let's see if we can get a 4th reason to do exactly the same thing. So how many of you got 3 now? 3 reasons. It has to be higher than before. Otherwise math is problem. So how many of you got 4 reasons to do exactly the same thing? So if you think about it, all it required was less than a minute. Some of you got 4 reasons to do exactly the same thing. I have done this exercise several places in the world. People have gone up to 8 reasons. After that, either they are very tired and they don't want to raise their hand, or they just can't find any more than 8 reasons. But think about several meaningful things that you are doing. If you could find 3 reasons to do exactly the same thing, imagine what will happen in less than a month. All of a sudden, you are getting 3x the output of what somebody would have got. For me, that is leverage. So most of, to answer your question, most of what I do is for my own sake. I want to crack the code. And then I immediately said, what is the best way to learn it even better? Is to teach somebody else. Right? Then it has to be clear in your mind for you to teach it. So that's why I have 1900 blog posts. And I always tell people, if I publish everything I write, people will really think I'm jobless. I don't do anything else except this guy just keeps writing. There is nothing else. So I don't publish everything. I have 7 books that are unpublished. I have 228 blog posts that I have unpublished. So I just keep it there. And half of them will be useless posts because I would have got something and then I would have think this is insightful and read it after 1 week, then it's next to nothing. So I keep doing it. So over a period of time, probably 10-15 years, I developed these things. And English. And I watch movies in all languages. And the other thing that will seem a little bit weird is I can watch the same movie like 16 times. I've gone up to 30 times and I've enjoyed every single scene as if I'm watching it for the very first time. So why do I do it? It's also a hack, because if you watch the same movie second time, you can stop it any time. You never feel that, oh my God, what will I miss? I already know what it is. So there is nothing to miss. I am entertained, but I can disconnect any time. Mitchell.
So I've known you for a decade, and You are truly a parallel entrepreneur, and I've run into many people who know you and say good things about you.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about is, can you sort of describe a typical day for you? What are some of the things that you do? How do you get it all done?
Yeah, so the impact habit is something that I've been using for a very long time. And I have a board in my room which has all the projects that I'm involved in. So every day I look at the board and say, how can I move the needle for any one of the project right now? So that's what I'm always thinking. By the end of the day, I should have moved the needle. Some of you in this crowd, I'm working with you on some projects. You will notice that when I call you, I will, if you are going somewhere, I will make sure that I will turn the conversation to make sure that it's moving the needle. But what is moving the needle? It's measurable progress in reasonable time. It has to pass the third party test, which means if you go and explain what we did to a third party, you have to say, oh, you made some progress there. And not to your mom or your sister or brother. Again, very, very important. Many times people go and say, let me be safe because I want to get good remarks. So I'll talk to somebody who will never give me bad remarks. Of course, you will get good remarks with them. So I always find a third party test. And not every day I fulfill that need because I'm involved in multiple projects. But most of the days I come up with something that I'm happy about. And what is the litmus test for me so that I have lived a day well is how fast I fall asleep. It will take me about 30 seconds to fall asleep. If I have not lived a day very well because something is wrong, I didn't have a good conversation, then it might take me about 2 minutes. Then I know that something is wrong. Next day morning, I will do a self-reflection. I have 3 mentors. I will discuss it with them. My goal is to get back to 30 seconds, fall asleep. That's it. So if I'm crossing 30 seconds, then something is wrong.
Does that make your wife really mad?
So I have fallen asleep in the middle of conversations. So that has made her really, really mad.
Could you give some personal examples of amplification?
See, as you keep growing, there is, because of the way the tools are available in this world, to amplify something is becoming easier and easier because you have the leverage as you grow, because you can make a phone call and then get something done. Somebody will be open for an introduction. So it becomes easier. When you are starting out, it takes a longer time to make a difference. When you have some accomplishments under your belt, I still have a long work in progress, but with what I have got with my network, it is easier to make sometimes people, all it requires is an idea, a connection, or spreading the message for what they are already doing. I'd be happy to share, because it's being recorded, I don't want to say anything very particular, but I'm happy to share dozens of examples. Famous.
Most of the instances like a new habit to your life, right? Like it's like it has become a second nature for you. You mentioned doing all the time.
Yeah.
I think one of the toughest parts has been making a new habit.
Yeah.
Right? So what are the cues are in the reward cycle you would help for developing these habits? What are the things you have followed?
Yeah, so that's a good question. How do you form a new habit for those of you who didn't hear it? And especially, there are many ways, there are many books about it, but I'll tell you what has worked for me is because I have a PhD in how to get rejected. So when I fail, I don't feel a little bit embarrassed or anything. I say, oh my God, I goofed up. So, and many times people don't want to do anything because what if they fail and what will other people think, right? Once you drop that, it's okay. I mean, what are the chances that 50% of what you start from now until the next year will fail? 90% of the time, right? So nobody has ever told me in all my talks that, whatever I think of, I'm guaranteed 100% succeed. The problem is,